Should you buy the next Xbox or should you buy a gaming PC? Should you even bother buying the PlayStation or the next PlayStation console? The conversation is going on out there, and there are a lot of different ideas as to what it is that they would recommend. Oh, some people have said if you just want to play games and you want to get a good experience on all that, just go ahead and get a console. I say, if you want to get a good experience, buy a game that the developers actually put care into and have optimized. The rest of it is going to fall into place as you would be enjoying the very best version of the product of which you have actually gotten your gaming machine to play. Because if you notice, the last 3-4 games on console have not necessarily been the most pristine experience out of all the games in terms of AAA. Borderlands 4, challenging on the PlayStation. This is not as a result of the PlayStation, don't get me wrong. This is as a result of a third-party developer who has not taken the time to optimize their game. Am I right? So ideally across the board, what PlayStation players and Xbox players in some cases are now feeling is that thing that they've been mocking PC for, that, oh, PC games are not optimized because PC is hard to optimize for. You were using that as an excuse to, in a sense, downplay PC, not realizing that the fault has always been from the developers all this while. And so now we can't run away from it. We're all sitting right here, and the developers are basically showing us their hand that they want to get money quickly and then eventually fix the product that they made. So what should you do? Get yourself in an ecosystem, should you want to do so, that has access to a lot of old games, a lot of good games, and a lot of cheap games. The question also then comes into play, what should you build? At what price point should you build for? And that's a very important question more than anything else. It's the most important question that you're probably going to ask because your wallet is not unlimited. And some people actually have an unlimited almost feeling in their wallets. Not saying that they have unlimited wallets, but their wallet feels like it's unlimited because truly they have a lot of money that they want to spend. I had a guy tell me, VG, give me the latest specs, bro. I'm looking at anything up to $5,000. I said, bro, we're not going to get there. Let me hook you up with about $3,000 and you should be good. And I put a build together for him. He said, thank you. And he walked away. He went ahead and bought the components. He built the PC that he wanted. No problem. Literally. This was in the 4090, when the 4090 was the top GPU in the market. Now, I've told a lot of people that 4090 gaming is not the same as regular gaming. In fact, it's a Halo class product. It's not something that everybody is going to be interested in or is actually going to want to spend the money in. So I usually never recommend that class of GPU when I'm recommending PC gaming because you'd have to have tested the ecosystem, engaged with it, checked if it's something that you actually like before you invest such amounts of money into it. Else you go build a PC and then you be dissatisfied and you come and start talking my YouTube channel. Oh, how PC gaming is not so much. You don't like it because, and then you start giving excuses after you done blown 2,500 on something that you didn't know. I didn't blow 2,500 on my first PC build. And I will never ask you to blow 2,500 on your first PC build. So we're at an impasse, aren't we? But actually we're not. The very first thing is that you really do need to know for sure why you're trying to go to the PC ecosystem. The reason that usually underlines it is that you want to have more control over your gaming without very few players actually controlling the economies of scale in that area. You see, the one thing a lot of people have not necessarily dialed into is, even though right now there seems to be some kind of a partnership consolidation going on in the CPU and the GPU market, that's with Intel and Nvidia wanting to basically go ahead and be OP, and AMD is just basically sitting there. They're always the underdog, but no problem. That would probably allow for it. You still have the majority of the components that are external to just the CPU and the GPU market that are controlled, or at least, right, operated on by many, many players. So things like RAM. Whether you have a CPU and a GPU that is the best in the world and you put together a gaming PC without RAM, that PC is not going to boot. It ain't going to post at all. And that is controlled by many, 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 many different proxies. So little things like these, right? Motherboards. You got a motherboard, right? Or you need a motherboard. You will need a motherboard. And the motherboard makers, there's a lot of them. I'm talking, everybody. I think EVGA was even at one point talking about motherboards as well, which, is quite exciting. So you got Asus, Do they make? Yeah. I got a tough motherboard. What am I talking about? I forgot. Oh, shoot. They have MSI. Yellow you want. They have Aorus. How do you spell it? Forgive me. They have ASRock. Right? They have Gigabyte. Come on now. Now, these companies, they get their specs and stuff as well, and their SKUs from the CPU manufacturers. But there is a distribution in who's all competing with one another. You see, just the people, let's just say Corsair. Let's just say, who else does RAM? Patriot. They may be similar, technologies in them. I'm just doing, let's do, who else does RAM? Let's do Team Group, Newegg. That's Newegg's brand. Let's do Viper and just another. But just these number of people here have already outclassed the number of players that hold console, which in the console space, you only have Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation. You're in a dangerous zone if you leave all your gaming up to PC, up to the consoles. That's what I'm actually getting at. So what you need to do is you need to pretty much ensure that there are other players that are fighting each other, at least even if they're not fighting each other on the side where in the CPU and GPU market, we only have Intel and CPU, AMD in CPU, right? And then in GPU, we have all three, Intel, AMD, and NVIDIA. This actually also distributes things. As Intel kind of walked into the GPU space a little bit, they started selling some GPUs, and that also creates some kind of market pressure. So this web that you see here actually allows for you to have a very, very good chance of getting the very best customer value out of it. When I see tweets like this that Nib95 put out here, or even tweets like Oliver McKenzie, when they put stuff like this out here, which let me show you real quick, right? Nib put this whole thing saying that this build was probably going to perform like a PlayStation 5 Pro. I disagree with that because from a price to performance perspective, he has absolutely missed the entire park with this build. He literally, foul balled the ball all the way out of the park with this. Oliver McKenzie said, beyond the spec war, will any PC really provide a console-like gaming experience? I get it if you need a fast PC for other purposes, but as a gaming box, a PS5 offers a much more smoother ride with far fewer game-by-game issues. That's not true, Oliver. There are way more games on PC that actually do perform well than the PlayStation 5. There's also Steam's big picture mode and other aspects of the PC that you can self-customize to your own needs. To make it sound like, this is somebody from a technology channel, by the way, to make it sound like, you have all this stuff on a console that because somebody brought freaking Cerelac and put it on a spoon and said, open your mouth, that makes it a better that's nonsense. I can't in good faith or even in any logical sense agree with that. Guys, that's categorically nonsense. Because this whole thing about, a simple experience. My guy, I can click play. Look at it. This is my Steam library and all the games that are installed therein. I can simply go ahead and click a game and click play with the mouse. Or if it's too much, why don't we fire up big picture mode that Steam actually has curated to give this particular experience in place? In fact, Xbox is now even cooking a much more streamlined experience, and yet y'all are still arguing this point. It doesn't appear to me that you guys are really interested in us getting down to the nitty-gritty and the crux of the matter to showcase the benefits of the PC ecosystem. This is why I have to dig and start from scratch to show you that there is that interconnected web that, first of all, gives you, the consumer, what's called shielding. Because one guy that's trying to probably gouge your pocket might get smacked by the other guy that's begging for your pocket. And then the other guy that's begging for your pocket might not be postured enough. And the other guy comes and postures even more. And then the other guy is groveling to the ground. And that's how you get good competition. And all these guys, Asus, MSI, Aorus, ASRock, Gigabyte, are all begging you for money. That's what makes the PC ecosystem superior. As you are the hardware builder, you source the components for yourself. The so-called convenience of console is you saying you want convenience, but be aware, please, that the convenience comes at a cost, and you put your own gaming in the control and in the hands of these folk. That's all there is to know. Now that you have the information, go play games where you want to play your games. It's just that simple. Having to sit there and malign one ecosystem in a specific category that obviously that ecosystem is even still better, as you can click a button to accomplish the thing that y'all are talking about, aka Steam Big Picture mode, right? It's just disingenuous, because all I did was click a button, and if I fired up this PC and said I wanted it to go ahead and start just like this so I didn't have to deal with the external experience, I'd have this experience. Why are people doing this? I think it's because the console ecosystem is now getting an organic challenge, a natural bucking of the system. And that's going to collapse the order that's been established by a lot of the folk that have been talking about video games. Something's about to change. I don't know what it is. It sounds exciting. But I'll leave you to it. Thanks for watching the video. Peace out.